Friend, maybe today you're walking through a storm. It hurts, it's lonely, and you don't see a way out. But I want to remind you, pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Pacing the floor over a lost relationship or questioning God because something didn't go our way. But let me tell you this, what looked like rejection was actually protection. That no you received, that detour you didn't understand, it wasn't meant to destroy your dreams. It was meant to preserve your destiny. Because God, in His infinite wisdom, will shut down what you're begging Him to open if He knows it'll cost you your peace, your purpose, or your soul. You thought you needed that job, that person, that opportunity, but God saw behind the curtain. He saw the storm up ahead, and He said, I'd rather you cry now than collapse later. I'd rather you be disappointed temporarily than destroyed permanently. That's the kind of Father we serve. Not one who just gives us everything we want, but one who guides us with a love that protects us from what we cannot see. Think about this. You wouldn't let your child play with fire just because they're fascinated by it. They may scream, they may cry, but you're not moved by their emotions. You're focused on their safety. That's how God deals with us. Sometimes He lets us feel the sting of unanswered prayers to save us from the burn of a bad decision. You thought He was the one until He left. But what if Him leaving was the best thing that ever happened to you? What if that heartbreak saved you from years of emotional torment? What if God's no was actually a giant billboard screaming, wrong way, don't go there? One time I heard about a woman who was engaged to be married. She was in love. She had the venue, the dress, the invitations, all ready to go. But just weeks before the wedding, her fiancé called it off. No warning, no explanation. She was devastated. She thought her life was over. But fast forward 3 years, she met a man who treated her like royalty, honored her dreams, and stood beside her in every storm. They got married and started a ministry that now impacts thousands. Looking back, she said, what I thought was the worst day of my life was actually God rescuing me from a future that wasn't mine. God will allow the pain if it means protecting your purpose. He's not just focused on your comfort, He's focused on your calling. And let me tell you, sometimes the most loving thing God can do is deny you what you ask for. You see that door as your destiny. God sees it as a dead end. You're chasing what looks good on the surface, but God sees the trap underneath. He sees that deal that seems too good to be true, and it is. He sees the friendship that looks supportive, but is full of envy. He sees that relationship that feels like love, but is coated in manipulation, and He steps in. He intervenes, not to punish you, but to preserve you. That delay is not denial. That disconnection is divine. That breakup, that betrayal, that sudden change, it wasn't random, it was strategy. God was rerouting you away from what would have crushed you. He's not just a savior, He's a shield. And if you only knew what He saved you from, you'd be dancing in the hallway before the door even opens. Sometimes He protects you, from the impatient, desperate, impulsive version of you that would settle for something small when He's preparing something significant. He knows you're tired. He knows you're lonely, but He also knows that what's ahead of you is so much greater than what's behind you. So He says, wait, trust me. I'm not done writing your story. Maybe today you're wondering why things didn't work out, why your plan failed, why that opportunity slipped through your hands. But what if you saw it differently? What if instead of seeing it as rejection, you saw it as redirection? What if instead of asking, why me, God, you said, thank you, God, for seeing what I couldn't, for stopping what I didn't know was about to harm me, for loving me enough to say no. Because the truth is, sometimes God's greatest blessings come wrapped in what looks like disappointment. That layoff, it led to the business you now own. That friend who turned their back on you, it forced you to learn self-worth. That financial struggle, it taught you how to manage abundance. Abundance, that sickness, gave you a passion for health and purpose you never knew you had. God doesn't protect you with cotton candy and comfort. He protects you with wisdom and sometimes, yes, with pain. But here's the power in it. When you look back, you'll realize that every door that closed, every detour that delayed you, every person who walked away, it was God's way of saying, I've got better. Don't settle. Don't beg. Don't chase. I'm building something beyond your understanding. What if the very thing you're angry at God for right now is the thing you'll thank Him for tomorrow? What if today's pain is tomorrow's protection in disguise? What if your broken road is the only road that could lead you to your blessing? Because God isn't just the God of open doors. He's also the God who slams doors to protect your destiny. Pain, it has a way of waking us up, shaking us, moving us. See, most of us don't change when we're comfortable. We don't grow when everything is easy. Comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing ever blossoms there. It's in the struggle, in the breaking, in the pressure, that's where you find purpose. And sometimes the only way God can get you to move toward the life you were born to live is to let you feel the sting of pain. There are moments in life when the pain feels unbearable, when the heartbreak leaves you breathless, when the betrayal cuts so deep you question everything. But what if I told you that same pain is not here to destroy you, it's here to push you, to launch you, to shove you out of what's familiar and into what's divine. Sometimes He protects you, from the impatient, desperate, impulsive version of you that would settle for something small when He's preparing something significant. He knows you're tired. He knows you're lonely, but He also knows that what's ahead of you is so much greater than what's behind you. So He says, wait, trust me. I'm not done writing your story. Maybe today you're wondering why things didn't work out, why your plan failed, why that opportunity slipped through your hands. But what if you saw it differently? What if instead of seeing it as rejection, you saw it as redirection? What if instead of asking, why me, God, you said, thank you, God, for seeing what I couldn't, for stopping what I didn't know was about to harm me, for loving me enough to say no? Because the truth is, sometimes God's greatest blessings come wrapped in what looks like disappointment. That layoff, it led to the business you now own. That friend who turned their back on you, it forced you to learn self-worth. That financial struggle, it taught you how to manage abundance. Abundance, that sickness, gave you a passion for health and purpose you never knew you had. God doesn't protect you with cotton candy and comfort. He protects you with wisdom and sometimes, yes, with pain. But here's the power in it. When you look back, you'll realize that every door that closed, every detour that delayed you, every person who walked away, it was God's way of saying, I've got better. Don't settle. Don't beg. Don't chase. I'm building something beyond your understanding. What if the very thing you're angry at God for right now is the thing you'll thank Him for tomorrow? What if today's pain is tomorrow's protection in disguise? What if your broken road is the only road that could lead you to your blessing? Because God isn't just the God of open doors. He's also the God who slams doors to protect your destiny. Pain, it has a way of waking us up, shaking us, moving us. See, most of us don't change when we're comfortable. We don't grow when everything is easy. Comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing ever blossoms there. It's in the struggle, in the breaking, in the pressure, that's where you find purpose. And sometimes the only way God can get you to move toward the life you were born to live is to let you feel the sting of pain. There are moments in life when the pain feels unbearable, when the heartbreak leaves you breathless, when the betrayal cuts so deep you question everything. But what if I told you that same pain is not here to destroy you, it's here to push you, to launch you, to shove you out of what's familiar and into what's divine. Think of a mother eagle with her baby chicks. When the time comes for those little birds to fly, she doesn't cuddle them in the nest, she stirs the nest. She removes the feathers, the softness, the comfort, until those babies feel so uncomfortable, they're forced to fly. The eagle knows if they stay too comfortable, they'll never reach the skies they were born to soar in. That's what God does with us. He stirs the nest with pain. Not because He's angry, but because He knows your purpose is bigger than your comfort zone. Sometimes your purpose is hiding behind your pain. That job you lost, it pushed you to start your business. That relationship that ended, it taught you how to love yourself. That rejection letter from the school, from the publisher, from the client, it sent you down a path you never would have chosen, but it led to your destiny. God uses pain as a GPS. He lets discomfort show up to whisper, there's more in you than you're living right now. It's time to move. You see, when life is good, we tend to settle. We say things like, this is fine. I can live with this. It's not perfect, but it's okay. But God didn't create you for fine. He didn't design you for okay. You are not average. There's fire in your bones. There's greatness in your spirit. There are dreams in your heart that you buried under survival. So sometimes He sends pain not to punish you, but to wake you up, to remind you that you've got purpose and you've got to move toward it. There's a young man I once knew, had a job that paid well, lived in a nice neighborhood. Life was predictable, safe, but he felt restless, like something inside him was screaming for more. Still, he stayed. Because comfort is a drug. Then one day, he was laid off. Just like that, everything changed. For weeks, he was angry, bitter. But one night, rock bottom whispered something new. This is your beginning. That man went on to start a company that now feeds hundreds of families, impacts lives around the world, and it all started with pain. His pain pushed him into his purpose. There are people right now changing the world because pain forced them to. That woman who started a shelter for abused women, it was birthed out of her own brokenness. That man who mentors fatherless boys, he was once that kid who never had anyone show up for him. Your greatest ministry might come from your deepest misery. Your scars are not your shame, they're your strength. And sometimes pain is the only thing that reveals that to you. You wouldn't know how strong you are if life didn't get heavy. You wouldn't know how creative you are until all the doors shut and you had to find a window. You wouldn't have prayed so hard, loved so deeply, believed so fiercely if life hadn't pushed you into the fire. But the fire didn't burn you, it forged you. Purpose isn't always found in the spotlight. It's discovered in the shadows. In the nights you cried yourself to sleep. In the mornings you didn't think you could get out of bed. In the moments you felt forgotten, abandoned, misunderstood. That's when purpose whispered, "Keep going, I'm coming." God has this way of turning pain into passion. He takes your tears and turns them into testimonies. He takes your worst days and uses them as fuel to light the way for someone else. You're not just going through pain, you're growing through it. And as it pushes you, it's also pulling out the version of you that's been hiding underneath fear, insecurity, and self-doubt. Look back at your life. The moments you changed the most weren't the peaceful ones. They were the painful ones. That breakup taught you what you truly deserve. That betrayal taught you to stop giving people discounts on access to your heart. That season of loneliness taught you how to hear your own voice again. Pain has a voice, and if you listen closely, it's not screaming at you, it's calling you toward who you're becoming. There is something about being pushed that wakes up your hunger. You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You stop relying on others and start discovering your own wings. You stop asking for permission and start walking in your God-given authority. Pain strips away your excuses. It removes the distractions. It forces you to focus on the one thing you've been running from, your assignment. And you may not see it yet. You may still be in the middle of the mess, confused, angry, tired, but just because you don't see the purpose doesn't mean it's not there. You're not being punished. You're being positioned for something greater, positioned to walk in power, positioned to lead, to heal, to build, to bless. And none of it would have happened if pain hadn't pushed you. Pain has a way of removing things that were never meant to go with you to your next level. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't come softly. It comes like a storm and strips away everything that's holding you back, not because God wants to hurt you, but because what you're carrying can't survive where He's taking you. Some blessings require space, and pain clears the room. It removes the dead weight. It cuts off relationships that drain your spirit. It breaks habits that have no place in your future. Sometimes the pain doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to deliver you from what would. Think of it this way. If you were on a plane and it was too heavy to take off, the pilot wouldn't just say, "Let's hope for the best." No, they'd start removing weight, luggage, cargo, extra load. Why? Because elevation requires separation. And God is your pilot. He sees the weight you're trying to carry, the people, the patterns, the past. And He says, if you're going to fly, some of this can't go with you. That's where pain steps in as a divine removal service. Not to punish you, but to lighten you. We don't always recognize what's hurting us when it's wrapped in familiarity. You get used to the toxic friend. You adapt to the comfort of that average job. You tolerate the relationship that doesn't honor your worth. And then suddenly pain shows up. Betrayal, loss, rejection. And it feels like your world is falling apart. But in truth, maybe it's falling into place. because the things that were removed weren't your future. They were just your familiarity. You outgrew them, but you were too loyal to let go, so pain did it for you. There's a story of a woman who prayed every night for her fiancé to love her better. She gave everything to him, poured into him, waited on him, lowered herself again and again just to be enough in his eye. And one day, without warning, he left. No reason, no goodbye, just vanished. She thought she had been abandoned. She thought God had forsaken her. But a year later, in her healing, she realized God didn't abandon her, He rescued her. That man wasn't going where she was going. And it took pain to remove him. Not because God wanted to hurt her, but because He had something far better waiting. You can't take jealousy into your calling. You can't take bitterness into your breakthrough. You can't insecurity into your influence. These things will sabotage you when you get there. So God in His mercy lets you experience discomfort now to protect your destiny later. Pain is sometimes the chisel God uses to shape your character, because where He's taking you, fake friends can't survive. Small thinking can't survive. You have to become lighter, sharper, stronger, and pain makes sure you do. Remember the story of Gideon in the Bible? God told him to go fight a battle, and he gathered 32,000 soldiers, but God said, that's too many. So He kept removing 10, 0, gone, then more, until only 300 remained. What happened? Painful reduction, divine subtraction. And still they won. Why? Because God doesn't need your crowd. He needs your commitment. And when He removes something, it's not a loss, it's preparation. He's creating space for the victory to come. Some people you cried over were only in your life for a season. Some doors that closed were never meant to be your forever. You think it's rejection, but it's redirection. You think it's loss, but it's liberation. God sees the version of you on the other side, the confident, powerful, wise version, the one that won't settle, the one that stands tall. But to get there, He has to remove what dims your light. That removal hurts, but that hurt is holy. Pain removes the mask, the pretense, the addiction to approval. It peels back the layers until all that's left is the real you, the you God designed, the you that's not afraid to start over. Shirts that don't fit, shoes you'll never wear again. Yet you kept them. Why? Because they reminded you of a time, a person, a version of yourself. Pain is like that closet cleaning. It reaches in and says, you don't need this anymore. You've grown, let it go. And yes, it feels like something's being taken, but in truth, something is being freed. You are not being punished, you are being purified. The fire you're feeling isn't here to burn you, it's here to refine you, to remove the dross, to burn off the fake, the weak, the shallow. So what remains is gold, unshakable, valuable, ready for more. Pain is the purging that clears the way for your purpose. And what you lost wasn't meant to last. What walked away wasn't aligned. What ended was supposed to. Because you can't step into destiny with distractions clinging to your back. So when pain comes and something leaves, don't rush to get it back. Don't try to replace it too soon. Maybe it was God. Maybe it was divine. Maybe he's saying, you don't need that where I'm taking you. Let him remove it. Let him refine you. Let pain do its holy work. Because some things cannot go with you to the next level. And pain knows exactly what those things are. Pain doesn't just hurt you, it shapes you. It strips you of what looks good on the outside, but is holding you hostage on the inside. You see, when God is preparing you for the next level, not everything and not everyone can go with you. Some things must fall away. Some people must walk out. Some mindsets must break. And yes, it hurts. But the pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Think about a rocket ship. Before it reaches outer space, it sheds, the boosters fall off. The unnecessary weight is released. Not because those parts were useless. They were needed for the beginning, but they were never designed to survive the altitude of where it's going. That's what pain does in your life. It removes what was only meant for your launch, but not for your orbit. And the problem is, we get attached to the boosters. We try to drag them into the next season. We try to hold on to people who were only assigned to the start of our story, not the finish. Imagine someone going through a friendship breakup. You thought they were your ride or die. You planned your future with them in every chapter, but suddenly something shifts. Betrayal, silence, distance, and your heart breaks. You beg God, why would you let this happen? But he knows that friend was your comfort zone, not your calling. That person was part of your past, but poison to your purpose. So he allows the pain to remove what cannot go with you, because your next season needs a new circle. Or picture someone stuck in a job for years. It pays well, it's safe, but it suffocates your soul. And one day, you get laid off. You panic. You feel like your life is unraveling. But what if it's not falling apart? What if it's falling into place? That job was your cage, not your calling. It was your security, not your significance. And God used the pain of that loss to push you into purpose. You never would have left if it hadn't hurt. Pain became the key that unlocked the door to your next. Sometimes it's your habits that have to go. You want growth, but you're stuck in procrastination, comparison, or constant people-pleasing. And then life brings pain. Suddenly, you're forced to confront the truth. You realize you can't keep living like this. The pain becomes a mirror. It shows you what's rotting in your routine. Maybe the pain is loneliness, and it reveals how much you relied on validation. Maybe it's burnout, and it reveals how much you've been chasing approval instead of peace. Whatever it is, pain shines a light on what can't stay if you want to rise. Even in relationships, the ones you thought would last forever, the love you gave your whole heart to, but slowly it turns into toxicity. You ignore the signs. You shrink yourself. You become a version of you that even you don't recognize. And one day, God allows that relationship to break. Not because he didn't hear your prayers, but because he did. He heard the ones you whispered through tears, asking him to free you. And freedom sometimes wears the mask of heartbreak. It hurts now, but it heals later, because that person couldn't carry your vision, your faith, your growth. And God knew it. Pain has a way of unmasking what you tried to pretend was okay. It exposes what you've outgrown. It separates what's seasonal from what's eternal. You might cry, you might scream, but one day you'll look back and say, if that hadn't left me, I never would have found me. What you lost wasn't meant to last. What stayed too long was slowly suffocating your destiny. And God in his mercy removed it through pain so that your purpose could breathe. It's like pruning a tree. You have to cut off the dead branches so the tree can grow stronger, fuller, healthier. The gardener doesn't cut to kill, he cuts to cultivate. The same is true with God. Pain is his pruning tool, not to punish you, but to make room for new fruit. new strength, new vision. You weren't meant to stay small. You weren't created to cling to what's comfortable. You were designed to rise. And rising means releasing, letting go of what cannot, will not, and should not go with you. Pain has a way of bringing you to your knees, not just physically, but spiritually. It shakes the ground beneath your feet so that the only place left to stand is in the arms of God. When life is good, when the bills are paid, the friends are around, the body feels healthy, let's be honest, we start thinking we've got it all under control. We start depending on our plans, our calendars, but pain will strip all of that away. And in that stripping, you learn where your real strength comes from. You learn that when everything else fails, God does not. It's in the late night tears when no one calls, no one texts back, and you feel invisible. That's when you cry out, not to people, but to the one who created you. That's when the whispers of your soul become louder than the noise of the world. God, I need you. It's not a rehearsed prayer. It's not pretty. It's raw, broken, desperate. And that's the kind of prayer God never ignores. Pain doesn't just humble you. It carves out a deeper space inside of you that only God can fill. Think about someone who just lost everything they thought mattered. A career they built for 10 years is gone overnight. A betrayal they never expected shows up at their door. A diagnosis comes without warning. In those moments, your titles won't save you. Your degrees won't comfort you. Your followers won't fix your soul. That's when you realize you don't need a platform, you need a pillar. And God becomes that pillar. You lean on Him, not because it's trendy, but because it's necessary. You find out that He is not just the God of celebrations, He is the God of survival. Sometimes God allows pain to close the doors that were feeding your ego, so you'll walk through the ones that feed your spirit. You'll let the money slow down, the friends fade out, the relationship fall apart. Not because He wants to see you suffer, but because He wants to see you surrender. There's a version of you on the other side of pain that is more powerful, more peaceful, more aligned with heaven, but you can't get there while you're still trying to do it all yourself. Pain teaches you to stop striving and start trusting. Imagine a single mother working 3 jobs, exhausted and empty, wondering how she's going to make it another day. Her strength is gone. But she whispers, God, I need you. Even in small everyday situations, like when your plans fall apart. You study for the exam, you train for the interview. You showed up in the relationship. But the outcome wasn't what you hoped, and you feel frustrated, defeated. But that's when faith kicks in. That's when you remember, God didn't bring me this far to leave me here. Pain makes you pray when you would have otherwise planned. Pain becomes the great equalizer. It doesn't care about your background or bank account, but it does one thing consistently. It pulls your eyes off the world and onto the Word. You stop asking, why me, and start declaring, God, I trust you. Not because it makes sense, but because it makes strength. And in that strength, you find something the world can't give. Peace in the middle of the storm, hope in the middle of heartbreak, purpose in the middle of the pain. Pain doesn't just hurt, it hammers. It hammers away at the weakness, the pride, the fear, and the impatience that would have crushed you when the blessing finally comes. God won't give you a throne if your character can't carry the weight of the crown. He loves you too much to let the blessing destroy you. So instead, He builds you first, and He uses pain as the construction tool. You've been praying for success, for favor, for influence, for overflow, but God knows if He gave it to you too soon, it would bury you, not bless you. It would inflate your ego, not strengthen your spirit. So before He puts the spotlight on you, He puts you through the furnace. Because gold doesn't shine until it's refined by fire. Diamonds don't glisten until they're cut under pressure. And character doesn't develop until you've been tested by trial. Think of a young entrepreneur dreaming of building a business empire. But year after year, it's rejection, struggle, loss, failure. What if that's not the devil blocking the door? What if it's God building the man or woman who will walk through it? Through every failed pitch, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, humility is being built, endurance is being shaped, vision is being purified, because success without structure is a setup for a downfall. So God says, before I give it to you, let me grow you into the version of you that won't sabotage it. Or think of someone praying for marriage, a good, godly partner. But before the yes, God allows heartbreak. He allows loneliness. He allows seasons of singleness so silent, it feels like He forgot. But He didn't. He's building something. You think He's holding out on you, but He's holding you together. He's teaching you self-love, emotional intelligence, boundaries, and wholeness. Because the right relationship requires the right maturity. Without it, the blessing becomes a burden. So God delays, not to deny, but to develop the character that won't settle, won't manipulate, won't depend on someone else to complete them. It's in the pain of waiting that patience is born. It's in the pain of betrayal that discernment is birthed. It's in the pain of loss that gratitude is ignited. Every painful moment is preparing you to be the kind of person who can stand in the blessing and not forget who brought you there. A caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly overnight. It struggles, it breaks itself out of the cocoon, and that struggle builds the strength in its wings. If someone cuts the cocoon to help, the butterfly never flies. That's what God is doing with your pain. He's letting the process shape you, so when the breakthrough comes, you're not limping, you're soaring, even in the simplest moments of life. The job you didn't get, the opportunity that passed you by, the friend who walked away, there's a lesson. God isn't just working on the outside, He's working on the inside. He's making you more compassionate, more patient, more powerful. That disappointment wasn't to defeat you, it was to develop you. Because when the blessing comes, it won't just be something you walk into, it will be something you're ready to carry. Pain builds patience. Pain builds perseverance. Pain builds perspective. And when God finally releases what you've been praying for, you won't fumble it. Because now your character is just as strong as your calling. Your spirit is just as developed as your dreams, and your maturity is just as deep as your miracle. Pain has a way of pulling strength out of you that you didn't even know was buried there. It doesn't ask for permission, it demands growth. It drags you into a place where the surface level smile fades and the raw, unshakable warrior in you rises. Pain forces you to dig deeper, reach higher, push further, not because you want to, but because you have to. That's where hidden strength lives, not in comfort, but in crisis. You don't know what you're made of until life throws you into the fire. You don't know how strong your faith is until everything you leaned on collapses. You don't know the power of your own voice until silence is your only companion. That's when it happens. The hidden strength you didn't know existed rises like a lion. You realize, I've been built for more than I ever gave myself credit for. Imagine a woman who just got laid off. 2 kids, no backup plan. The fear is real. The future is foggy. But in that storm, something starts to rise. She stops waiting for a rescue and becomes the rescuer. She starts a small side hustle, teaches herself skills at night, learns how to stretch every dollar. And one day, she looks in the mirror and realizes, pain does. It peels back the layers until the powerhouse version of you shows up. Or think of someone who was abandoned in a relationship they gave their heart to, left shattered, alone, feeling like they lost their worth. But after the tears, the silence, the aching, they get back up. They hit the gym, not just to look good, but to feel powerful. They go back to school, start that business, set boundaries, find their voice. And what happens? They evolve into someone even they didn't recognize. Not broken, but reborn. That kind of strength doesn't come from a peaceful life. It comes from surviving pain and choosing to rise anyway. Sometimes you go through financial hardship, not because God wants to see you suffer, but because He wants you to see that your provision isn't locked in a paycheck. It's in your creativity, your grind, your ability to take little and make it stretch, like 5 loaves and 2 fish. You start realizing, wait, I'm not weak. I'm resourceful. I'm powerful. I can rebuild from nothing and still come out shining. Even in friendships, when betrayal cuts you deep and you feel like you'll never trust again, pain teaches you how to protect your peace. You learn how to say no without guilt, how to walk alone without fear, how to love yourself without needing permission. That strength, it was always in you, but the pain brought it out. Pain doesn't just hurt, it awakens. It shows you that you don't need the approval of people who left you. You don't need the job title to prove your worth. You don't need the relationship to feel valuable. You've got strength laced into your DNA, power that only pressure can unlock. Like a seed buried in dirt, it looks like darkness, but something's breaking open beneath it, something strong, something unstoppable. God doesn't allow pain to crush you. He allows it to reveal you, to show you that you are not what happened to you. You are what you survived. You are what you built when everything fell apart. You are what you discovered in the silence when no one cheered, no one clapped, and you showed up anyway. That's real strength. That's heaven-forgived resilience. And you wouldn't have known it lived inside you until pain knocked and power answered. You may have walked through fire. You may have cried tears no one saw. You may have endured silent battles and carried weights that would have broken others. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still becoming. That's not weakness. That's strength wrapped in grace. That's power forged in pain. And if pain had a purpose, then your journey has a destiny. Don't curse the struggle. Don't despise the waiting room of heaven, because sometimes God delays not to punish, but to prepare. Sometimes the pain is not a punishment, it's a platform where your faith is built, your character is formed, your vision is sharpened, and your fire is ignited. He didn't bring you this far just to leave you. He brought you through hell to show you heaven was always on the way. Remember this, broken crayons still color. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need a clean past to step into a bright future. What tried to break you only built you. What tried to silence you only gave your voice more volume. And what tried to bury you didn't realize you were a seed. The dirt didn't kill you, it grew you. They told you you wouldn't make it, but look at you. You wouldn't make it, but look at you. Every scar has a story, every tear has a testimony, and every storm you survived has made you into the warrior that God can now trust with the blessing. Some people walk into blessings they never had to fight for, but not you. You bled for it, you cried for it, you fasted, you prayed, you pushed, and you persevered. And when you walk into your season of overflow, don't walk in timid, walk in like you belong there, because you do. The devil thought the pain would stop you, but pain didn't destroy you. It discovered you. It introduced you to the strongest, most unstoppable version of yourself. That version of you that doesn't flinch when people leave, that doesn't crumble when doors close, that doesn't beg to be loved but knows it is already loved, chosen, anointed, and called. You are not the same person who entered that storm. You are wiser now, stronger now, deeper now. You carry something you didn't before, wisdom that can't be taught, and comfort, authority that can't be faked with words. You've got battle-tested boldness now. And that is what qualifies you for the blessing that's on the way. Hard times create strong people. You've heard that. But you didn't just hear it, you lived it. You felt every setback like a punch to the soul and still chose to rise. That makes you rare. That makes you royalty in the spirit. And the heavens don't crown those who haven't carried a cross. This is not the end of your story. It's the turning point. That moment where don't just survive the pain. just thank God for what he gave you. Thank him for what he made you into. Because that's the real blessing. Not what's in your hands, but what's now in your heart. The unshakable faith, the lion's courage, the soul that doesn't break under pressure anymore. That's what the pain was for. That's what the fire was shaping. And now you are ready